I still remember the day I thought my life was perfect. My name is Daniel, and I was engaged to the girl I believed was my forever, Emily. Everyone called us the perfect couple. She smiled like she loved me deeply. I believed her every smile was real. I believed her silence was just peace, not secrets. We were planning our wedding. My mother was happy. Her mother, Mrs. Carter, treated me like a son. Everything looked normal. But now, when I think back, I realize something very important. Perfect things don't hide things. One evening, I was sitting with my best friend Mark. He looked at me and said something I still remember clearly. Daniel, love is simple, but hiding phones is not simple. I laughed at him. Bro, you think too much, I said. But he didn't laugh back. He just said, I'm serious. Watch her eyes, not her words. At that time, I ignored him. That was my first mistake. That night, I went home early. Emily was in the kitchen cooking dinner. She looked beautiful like always. She smiled and said, You came early today. I missed you. I smiled back. I missed you too. And I meant it. But then something small happened. Her phone rang. She quickly turned it face down. Too fast. Too nervous. I noticed it, but I told myself it was nothing. Later, we sat for dinner. I tried to talk normally, but Emily kept checking her phone under the table. Every time it vibrated, her fingers tightened. I asked her softly, Everything okay? She smiled instantly. Yes, just work messages. But her voice was a little too quick, too perfect, like she had practiced it. After dinner, she went to the bathroom. Her phone stayed on the table. For a moment, I just looked at it. My heart told me, don't, but my mind said nothing. I didn't touch it. I just stared at it like it was something alive. Then it lit up. A message came. No name, just a saved contact. Mum Hair. Something inside me felt strange, because love doesn't usually look like that in contacts. I didn't open it. I just sat there. But that moment changed something in me. I started noticing things I never saw before. How she smiled but avoided eye contact. How she held her phone like it was her real life. How she sometimes went silent when I came closer. When Emily came back, she hugged me from behind. She said softly, You are my safe place, Daniel. I closed my eyes, and I believed her. Even though something inside me was slowly breaking. That night, we lay in bed. She fell asleep quickly. Her phone was beside her pillow. It lit up again. Mum. Ha. I turned my head away. But I couldn't sleep. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was sleeping next to someone I didn't fully know. And just before I closed my eyes, I remembered Mark's words again. Watch her eyes, not her words. I didn't know it then, but I was already standing at the edge of something I could never go back from. After that night, I started noticing small things I ignored before. It wasn't big changes. It was small behavior shifts. And small things are the most dangerous, because they don't look like danger at first. Emily's phone became her shadow, always with her, always face down, always close to her hand. If I moved even a little near it, she would quickly change its position, like she was protecting it from me. One morning, I asked her casually, Why are you so protective of your phone these days? She smiled instantly. Too instantly. Daniel, it's just work stuff. You worry too much. Then she kissed my cheek like nothing happened. But her eyes didn't stay on mine. That bothered me more than her words. That day, I met Mark again. He looked at me for a few seconds and said, You look tired, bro. I said, Wedding stress, maybe. But he shook his head. It's not stress, it's doubt. I stayed silent. He continued, When someone hides their phone, they are not hiding messages, they are hiding a second life. That line stayed in my head. A second life. I didn't want to believe it, but I couldn't erase it either. That night I came home earlier than usual. Emily was not in the room. Her phone was on the table. It vibrated once, then again. My heart started beating faster. I told myself, don't. but my eyes still moved toward it. The screen lit up. "Mum, I miss you. Same time tonight?" I froze. My hand stopped halfway. My breathing slowed. Something felt wrong. Deeply wrong. Because no normal mum sends messages like this. I didn't touch it. I stepped back like it could burn me. Just then, Emily came back. She saw me near the table and quickly rushed forward. "Hey, what are you doing?" Her voice was sharp. Too sharp. I smiled lightly. "Nothing. Your phone was ringing." She grabbed it instantly. "Too fast. Too nervous." "Work call," she said again. But this time, her smile didn't come naturally. It looked forced, like she was building it from pieces. That night, she acted more loving than usual. She held my hand tightly. She said, "You know I trust you more than anyone in this world, right?" I looked at her, and for the first time, I didn't feel warmth. I felt confusion, because trust doesn't feel like hiding. Later, she fell asleep, but I didn't. Her phone lit up again. Same name, Mum Har. I stared at it for a long time. My mind kept fighting itself. One side said, "Don't ruin your relationship." The other side said, "Something is already ruined." I picked up the phone, but only for a second. My fingers didn't unlock it. I just held it. It felt heavy, like it had truth inside it, and I wasn't ready to see it. I placed it back slowly, and in that moment, I made a decision. I will not act emotionally. I will watch. I will learn. I will understand everything first. But something inside me had already changed. I was no longer just Daniel, the trusting fiancé. I was Daniel, the man who started noticing silence. And silence never lies. When I finally lay down, I looked at Emily's sleeping face. She looked peaceful, like nothing in the world could touch her. But I knew something now. Peace can also be a mask, and masks always fall eventually. After that night, I couldn't act normal anymore. Even when I smiled, my mind was somewhere else. That name, Mum Har, kept repeating in my head like a broken sound. I started watching Emily more carefully. Not loudly, not obviously, just quietly, like I was learning a language she didn't know I was reading. One evening, Emily told me, "My mum invited us for dinner this weekend. You should come. Mrs. Carter." Her real mother. I agreed instantly. But inside, I felt something strange. Because now, I was not going to dinner just as a fiancé. I was going as someone who wanted answers. Mark met me before the dinner. He looked serious this time. "Daniel, don't ignore your gut anymore," he said. I replied, "I'm just going for dinner." He shook his head. "No, you're going into a test, and tests always show truth." I didn't answer. Because deep down, I already knew he was right. The dinner night arrived. Mrs. Carter welcomed me warmly. "Daniel, you are always family here," she said with a smile. Emily stood beside her, holding my hand tightly. Too tightly, like she was afraid I might slip away. We sat at the table. Food was served. Normal conversation started, but I was not listening like before. I was watching. Emily's phone was placed near her plate, face down, silent, but not inactive. It vibrated once, then again. Her fingers reacted instantly, too fast, too trained. I leaned slightly toward Mark and whispered, "She never lets it go." He didn't even look at me. He just replied, "Because it's not just a phone to her." During dinner, Mrs. Carter talked about wedding plans. She was excited. "You two are perfect together," she said. Emily smiled. I smiled too. But inside, I felt like I was acting in a play I didn't write. Then something happened. Emily stood up to get water. Her phone stayed on the table. It lit up. I didn't want to look, but my eyes moved anyway, and I saw it again. "Mum, are you alone tonight?" My heart stopped for a second. I looked at Mrs. Carter. She was still talking about wedding decorations. She had no idea at all. I felt something cold inside my chest. Because now I understood something dangerous. This wasn't random anymore. This wasn't work. This wasn't innocent. This was hidden, carefully. Emily came back and quickly grabbed her phone. She smiled at me. "You okay?" I nodded slowly. Yes. But I wasn't okay. Not even close. After dinner, Mrs. Carter went to the kitchen. Emily came closer and hugged me. She whispered, "You seem quiet today." I forced a smile. "Just tired." She kissed my cheek and said something that stayed with me. "You are my safe place, Daniel. Safe place." But what if I was safe, in a place full of lies? That night, I couldn't sleep. Emily slept beside me peacefully again. Her phone stayed under her pillow this time, like she was hiding it even from the world. At 2:14 a.m., it vibrated. I saw the glow under the pillow. Mum. This time, I didn't feel confusion. I felt certainty. Something was wrong. Very wrong. I slowly turned my face toward the ceiling, and I whispered to myself, "If this is a lie, I will find the truth. Not anger, not revenge, just truth." But I didn't know. Truth always demands a price, and I was about to pay it. After that night, I stopped guessing. Guessing makes you weak. I needed facts now. Not feelings, not doubts. Facts. Because Mum Hare was not a normal name anymore. It was a pattern. A pattern always leads somewhere real. The next morning, I acted normal again. I kissed Emily goodbye like always. She smiled. "You will pick me up in the evening, right?" I nodded. Yes. But inside, I was already watching her differently. Like she was no longer just my fiancée. She was now a mystery I had to solve. When she left, I called Mark. "I need your help," I said. He didn't even ask why. He just said, "I knew this day would come." That line shocked me. He already knew I was close to breaking. We met in the afternoon. Mark brought his laptop. He said quietly, "If you want truth, you don't chase it emotionally, you trace it logically." I nodded. My hands were cold, but my mind was ready. We checked everything we could without directly touching Emily's privacy too early. But Mark suggested something important. Watch behavior, not messages. So I started remembering. Every time she smiled after a notification, every time she stepped away to answer a call, every time she turned her phone too quickly, it was all connected. That evening, I picked Emily up. She looked happy, too happy, like nothing was wrong in her world. She leaned on my shoulder in the car and said, "I missed you." I smiled, but I didn't feel it anymore. Something inside me had shifted. At dinner, she placed her phone again. Same position, same habit, same secret. It vibrated once, and I saw the name again. Mum Hare. But this time, I did something different. I didn't look away. I looked longer, and I noticed something I missed before. The frequency of messages, the timing. Always late night. Always when she thought I wasn't watching. Later that night, she fell asleep early. I stayed awake. Her phone was right beside her. For the first time, I picked it up without hesitation. My fingers were steady now. No fear, just clarity. The screen was locked, but I didn't try to force it. Instead, I studied it. Notifications, patterns, clues. And then I saw something small, but powerful. A hidden preview message, not fully visible before. It showed, "Ryan, don't worry, he still doesn't know." My breath stopped. Ryan. Not Mum, not work. A man. Real. My chest felt tight, but I didn't explode. I didn't wake her. I just sat there, staring at the screen. Because now I knew something irreversible. This was not confusion anymore. This was betrayal. I placed the phone back slowly, and I looked at Emily sleeping beside me. Same peaceful face. Same soft breathing. But now I saw something else. Not innocence, not love, just distance. I whispered quietly to myself, so this is who you are. Not anger, not shouting, just acceptance. And acceptance is the beginning of change. I turned away and closed my eyes. But sleep didn't come, because once you see truth, you can never sleep the same again. And in that silence, one thought grew inside me. Not revenge yet, not action, just one simple realization. I was no longer in a relationship. I was in a lie that was still breathing. After I saw the name Ryan, something inside me stopped reacting the same way. I was not shocked anymore. I was not confused anymore. I was just aware. And awareness changes everything. That morning, I woke up before Emily. She was still sleeping peacefully beside me. Same face, same calm breathing. But now I knew, peace can be fake. I quietly sat on the edge of the bed. And I thought for a long time. Not about love, not about pain, but about truth. I made a decision. If this was a lie, then I will not chase it blindly. I will expose it in a way that cannot be denied. Because emotional confrontation can be denied, but public truth cannot. That day, Emily told me something normal. My mom is planning a family dinner. She really wants us there. Mrs. Carter, her real mother. I smiled and said, "Of course, I will come." But inside, something clicked. Dinner. Again. But this time, I felt like the story itself was repeating for a reason. I called Mark immediately. "We have a chance," I said. He understood instantly. "What kind?" I said slowly. "A controlled exposure." He stayed silent for a moment, then said, "You're not thinking of just confronting her. You're thinking of revealing everything." I replied, "Yes." Mark met me the same evening. He looked serious. "This is not just revenge," he said. "This is precision." We started planning carefully, not emotionally, logically. We discussed timing, screen access, phone connection. And one thing became clear. The truth had to appear where she could not control it. Mark suggested something dangerous but effective. If her phone connects to a shared screen, notifications will appear in real time. I nodded. "That's exactly what I want." He looked at me carefully. "Are you sure you can handle what comes after?" I stayed silent, because I didn't know the answer yet. But I knew I couldn't go back. That night, I acted normal again with Emily. She hugged me tightly. "You've been quiet lately," she said softly. I smiled. "Just enough. I'm just focused on us." She smiled back. And said something that hit differently now. "You are my safe place." I almost wanted to laugh, because I was slowly becoming the place where her truth would collapse. The dinner was set for 2 days later. At Mrs. Carter's house, Emily was excited. She even planned decorations. She kept saying, "This will be perfect, perfect." That word felt strange now, because I knew perfection always breaks first. On the day before dinner, Mark helped me finalize everything. We tested the setup, phone sync, screen projection, notification mirroring. Everything worked. He looked at me and said, "Once you press that button, there is no undo." I replied quietly, "I don't want undo." That night, I couldn't sleep. Emily slept peacefully again. Her phone was now always close to her pillow, like she was guarding her secret even in dreams. I looked at her for a long time, and I didn't feel love. I felt distance, not hatred, just separation. I whispered to myself, "I didn't break this, I just discovered it already broken." And for the first time, I stopped seeing myself as someone in love. I started seeing myself as someone waiting for truth to arrive. Because tomorrow night, everything would be revealed. Not in silence, not in doubt, but in front of everyone. The night of the dinner finally arrived, and I knew one thing very clearly. Tonight would not end like normal nights. Tonight would end something forever. Emily was excited all day. She kept fixing her dress, checking her phone, smiling at small things. She looked happy, too happy for someone carrying a secret. She held my hand in the car and said, "I want tonight to be perfect." I looked at her for a second and said, "It will be remembered." She smiled without noticing the weight in my voice. Mrs. Carter's house was warm and bright. Lights were on. Food was ready. Everything looked like a normal family dinner. If I didn't know the truth, I would have believed it too. That's what scared me the most. How easily lies can look like peace. Mark arrived early. He didn't say much. He just looked at me and nodded. That was our signal. Everything was ready. The screen set up, the phone sync, the projection system, and the moment Emily's phone vibrated, everyone would see it. We sat at the table. Laughter filled the room. Mrs. Carter was happy. "Daniel, you are part of this family now," she said. I smiled. Yes, I always felt that. But inside, I felt like I was sitting in the center of a storm, and no one else could see it yet. Emily placed her phone near me again. Same habit, same mistake. She didn't know that habits reveal truth more than words. Mark gave me a small look. It was time. Then it happened. Her phone vibrated. Once, then again. I quietly connected it to the hidden system. No one noticed. Emily was talking. Mrs. Carter was smiling. Everything was normal. And then, I pressed the button. The big screen in the living room turned on. At first, no one reacted. Then the phone notifications started appearing in real time. One by one, like drops before a flood. And then it appeared. "Ryan, last night was amazing." Silence. The room didn't understand at first. Mrs. Carter stopped speaking mid-sentence. Emily's smile disappeared instantly. I didn't move. I just watched. Another message came. "Ryan, don't worry, he still doesn't know." That sentence hit the room like a slap. Emily stood up immediately. "No, wait, this is not." Her voice broke. She looked at me. Panic in her eyes. Real panic. Mrs. Carter slowly turned toward the screen. Her hands were shaking. "Emily, what is this?" No answer. Only silence. Then another notification appeared. "Ryan, I miss you. Same time tomorrow." That was it. No explanation needed anymore. Truth was standing in the room. Alive. Visible. Undeniable. Emily rushed toward me. "Daniel, please listen. I can explain." But I stepped back. Not angry. Not shouting. Just calm. And calm hurt more than anger. I looked at her and said slowly, "You don't explain truth. You only hide it." She froze. Because she knew. Because she knew. She knew there was no escape now. Ryan tried calling. The phone rang loudly. I picked it up and pressed speaker. His voice filled the entire room. "Hey babe, what's going on?" Silence again. Then chaos in Emily's face. "Stop it," she shouted. But it was already too late. Everyone heard him. Mrs. Carter dropped her glass. It shattered on the floor. She whispered, "Emily, tell me this is not real." Emily cried. I was going to end it, I swear. But no one believed her now. Not even me. I looked at her for a long moment and said quietly, "You didn't end it because you were never ready to lose both." She shook her head. "No, Daniel, please." But I raised my hand, not to silence her, but to end it. I said one final line. "I didn't expose you, you exposed yourself." And the room went completely silent. Emily stood there crying. Mrs. Carter couldn't look at her. Mark stood behind me. And I finally felt something leave me. Not love, not anger, just weight. Because the truth was no longer inside me. It was outside, and everyone could see it now. After the screen went dark, the room didn't return to normal. It stayed broken, like something invisible had shattered in every corner. No one spoke for a few seconds, but silence was louder than any argument. Emily was crying now. Not quietly, not controlled, real crying. She looked at me like I was the only person who could still save her. "Daniel, please, don't do this to me." Her voice shook, but I didn't move, because I had already done everything I needed to do. Ryan called again, and again. I answered one last time. Speaker mode. Everyone heard it. His voice came casually. "Why are you not replying? Everything okay?" That one line destroyed whatever illusion was left. Mrs. Carter covered her mouth. Her eyes filled with tears. She whispered, "No, no, this cannot be my daughter." Emily rushed toward the phone. Stop it, please." But I didn't let her touch it, not aggressively. Just stepping back, calm, controlled. And that calm scared her more than shouting ever could. She turned to me again. Her face was wet with tears. "Daniel, I was going to end it. I swear I was going to tell you everything." I looked at her for a long moment and asked quietly, "Then why didn't you?" She had no answer. Because truth doesn't need explanation. It only needs timing. And she lost that timing. Mark finally stepped forward. He spoke softly but clearly. "This didn't happen in one day, Emily." His eyes were cold. "It happened every time you chose him over truth." Emily looked down. She couldn't even defend herself anymore. Mrs. Carter slowly walked toward her daughter. Her hands were shaking. She touched Emily's face and said, "Why? Why would you do this to us?" That question hit harder than anything else, because it wasn't just betrayal. It was family breaking in real time. Emily fell to her knees. "I didn't mean for it to go this far." Her voice was broken now. I got confused. I was stressed. But I interrupted her. Not loudly, just clearly. "You were not confused." I paused. "You were choosing." That line made her freeze, because it was true. And truth hurts most when it is simple. Ryan kept calling, again and again. I finally picked up. My voice was calm. "Don't call her again." There was silence on the other end. Then he laughed slightly. "Bro, relax. It wasn't serious." That sentence changed something inside me. Not anger. Not jealousy. Just clarity. I replied. It was serious enough to destroy a family. Then I hung up. Emily stared at me like she didn't recognize me anymore. "Daniel, please." But I shook my head. No. I stayed silent for too long. I took a breath. And now silence is over. Mrs. Carter slowly sat down. She looked completely broken. Not angry. Not loud. Just defeated. She whispered, "I raised her better than this. But some things are not about raising. They are about choices." Emily reached for my hand one last time. But I stepped back again. Not because I hated her, but because I couldn't stand in the same place anymore. Something in me had already moved on. I said softly, "I didn't destroy you, Emily." I looked at her directly. "You destroyed what we were." Her tears fell harder, but I didn't feel pulled anymore. That was the most surprising part. Mark placed a hand on my shoulder. "Let's go." I nodded. And for the first time that night, I turned away. Not in anger, not in revenge, but in completion. As I walked out of the house, I heard Emily crying behind me. But I didn't stop, because sometimes leaving is the only way to survive your own story. After that night, everything in my life became quiet. Not peaceful, just quiet. There is a big difference. Peace feels soft. Silence feels empty. For days, I didn't hear from Emily. No calls, no messages, nothing. It felt strange at first, like my phone forgot how to ring for her name. But slowly, I understood something. Not every silence is loss. Some silence is freedom. Mark stayed in touch with me. One evening, he asked, "You okay?" I thought for a moment. Then I said, "I don't know yet, but I'm better than before." He nodded. "That's enough for now." Mrs. Carter sent me a message after a week. It was short. "I'm sorry. I failed to see what was happening." I didn't reply immediately, because there was nothing left to fix, only acceptance. Later, I simply wrote back, It wasn't your fault alone. And that was it. No more words were needed. Emily never came back. Not to me. Not to the life we planned. I heard she left the city for a while. Maybe to escape. Maybe to think. I didn't follow. Because some endings don't need tracking. They just need distance. One night, I sat alone in my room. Everything felt different now. The same walls. The same bed. But a completely different mind inside me. I thought about everything. The smiles. The lies. The messages. The screen. And I realized something important. I didn't just lose a relationship. I lost a version of myself. The version that trusted blindly. The version that ignored signs. The version that called confusion love. But I also gained something. Clarity. Strength. And something I didn't expect. Peace inside truth. I whispered to myself. I didn't get revenge. I paused. I just stopped living inside a lie. I stood up and looked outside the window. The night was calm. No noise. No chaos. Just life moving forward without asking permission. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel broken. I felt free. Because sometimes the end of love is not the end of life. It is the beginning of seeing it clearly.